Welcome to Commander Tune-Ups with the Nitpicking Nerds.
This time we're upgrading the Jund deck, Riveteers Rampage, for only $50.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. We have videos every single day of every single week, of every single month, of every single year. So if you want to support the channel in any one of those intervals, you can go to TCGPLAYER because we have an affiliate link with them, which means when you start with the link and buy cards like you normally would, when you check out, we get a kickback and we appreciate it. And it's no extra money for you.
Yeah, and we got to shout out the sponsor for this video, moxfield.com. Stay tuned for the mid-video sneak attack where we put the ad.
Also, got to wish happy birthday to everyone whose birthday falls on today. This is really important. Also, I want to wish everyone's pets whose birthdays it is happy birthday as well.
Happy birthday to all living things that have a birthday today. And shout out to our patron, Chrome Drone. This is your video, my dude. You get the shout out here.
You know what's crazy?
What?
A lot of living things don't have birthdays. Like, a bunch of bugs, they don't live a year. They don't ever get a birthday.
Oh, that's sad.
We're going to start out really sad today.
Too sad. Okay, so today is Precon power-ups. We take the Precon, we take $50, we shove them together, and we make a deck that is better and functional for about $110.
Right, and this time around, instead of doing our normal gut the entire deck and replace all of it, we're going to do 30 changes. We're going to make the deck good with just 30 changes.
Yes, so the first thing we got to do before we start changing around stuff or figuring out what we're doing, we got to know who the commander is, and this one is Henzie Toolbox Tour. He's Jund for a legendary creature, Devil Rogue 3/3. Each creature you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana value. Blitz cost you pay costs 1 less for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. So what's this deck trying to do? Well, we have tons of really big, giant creatures that we're going to have reduced blitz costs on, so we can take advantage of ETBs, attacks triggers, and or death triggers on any number of those creatures to gain a ton of advantage.
And the way we're going to win is to just dominate the board with gigantic threats and just crash through with overwhelming forces. Like, they're just not going to be able to stop us.
I think really important to remember is, yes, we're going to blitz a lot of creatures throughout the game, but every single one of these threats is a creature that can just be cast as a threat by itself for its normal cost at any time.
And this Precon was like extra beefy. I just want to shout out, like, they have Avenger of Zendikar in this Precon. They have threats to close.
Yeah, I mean, Avengers of Zendikar, real nice for this deck. First thing we got to do is cut cards that do not fit our game plan whatsoever. Weathered Sentinels, this is just garbage. So we don't have to talk about it. Next.
Yeah, I don't get it. Aether Snap is like a metagame call. So if you're trying to upgrade this deck for anything other than playing against token encounters decks, cut this card forever.
Yeah, Dodgy Jalopy, one of the coolest designs in the whole entire set. Not really good, though. We're just not interested.
We don't need counters.
It doesn't really fit our deck. It's sad.
Turf War is just some weird card that I don't know if it fits anything. Like, I don't want to give away my lands. It's not even high stakes. It's just a poopy card.
Yeah, Bellowing Mauler, also just a poopy card. This trigger only one time is especially bad.
Right, so we don't want to blitz it.
So we don't want to blitz it. We don't want to play it because it's bad. So yeah, we just don't want to play it.
Yeah, and then lastly, Beamtown Bullies. This is like a really good card, but we're not built to take advantage of it. They always have 2 3-color commanders, and one of them's like, hey, go off and do this thing. And we can't. So we're going to cut it, and they can go be great in its own deck.
Yes, so now that we've cut cards that don't fit our game plan, let's add some on-theme cards. First, we got Riveteers Ascendancy. Every single turn, we're going to be sacrificing a creature to our Blitz cost, meaning that we're going to sacrifice like a 6-drop and get back a 5-drop on the end step. It's going to be super strong within this deck. It feels like the Ascendancies didn't feel like they fit the decks perfectly. This one was like chef's kiss.
Yeah, this one really worked. We also have Myth Unbound, which is like the perfect card with Toolbox because Toolbox is being our commander, not just a random word. It reduces his cost for when you cast him because you want to cast him more times in the command zone. And then also when he leaves, goes back to the command zone, you need to draw a card.
Yeah, really cool card. Super good because we want to cast him more. Cauldron of Souls, super awesome in this deck. It gives all of our creatures until end of turn persist. So now when we go in and we do our attacking, we still get the draw. We still sacrifice it, but it comes back with a -1 counter on it, meaning we're going to get ETBs again.
Ooh.
Oh, we're going to get the dice triggers. We're going to get to attack with it again next turn. It's going to be very strong.
It's brutal, and it works really well with Viscerous here because now we can just have a second life on any of our creatures guaranteed for free, and we get to scry one. We don't really care about the scry one. This isn't like an Aristocrats deck, but we do have a couple ways to sack creatures because with Blitz, if we smash in, get the damage through or whatever, they chump block, and we want the card now, we don't have to wait till our end step. We can just sacrifice it now, scry 1, get our value. Same is true with Goblin Bombardment. Turns all our extra dudes that would die into just damage, flinging them around. We can actually ping off some creatures with our Blitz dudes.
Yeah, and our main win count for this deck, this is probably my favorite card. I fought for this one to get in the deck.
That's good.
I think it's real good. It's Living Death. We're not milling ourselves or filling our graveyard like repeatedly, but it's naturally going to happen throughout the game because we're just going to blitz, blitz, blitz. Big creature going to be, big creature going to die, big creature going to die. Most likely at any given table that you sit down at with this deck, you're going to have the biggest, scariest creatures. It won't matter that you brought back all their 1/1s and 2/2s and 3/3s. You brought back your 10 6/6s, and you're just going to dominate from there.
Right, and with Living Death, that's another reason we want to play Viscera Sea or Goblin Bombardment. It lets us throw our entire board into the graveyard before we resolve it, and then just get everything back, so it's one-sided.
Yeah, you put Henzie in the graveyard with it.
Oh, yeah.
And you also just get it back with the Living Death. So now we've cut cards that don't fit the deck's theme and added cards that do fit the deck's theme. Now we got to take cards out of the deck that did fit the theme for sure, but we can just do better. We're going to make them better cards. This first category is the blitzing creatures. It's just this is working with the blitz ability that we have on our commander. First, when we cut Wave of Rats, this card sucks.
Rave of Rats would be way cooler.
Rave of Rats. It's just a bunch of rats dancing the whole time. That'd be a cool card, but it's not. Instead, we got this stupid wave that sucks.
Yeah, Metzio Mugger, he has Blitz, and he's like an Atali trigger. But
you pay for him.
You pay for him. It's like the worst part of everything. We just put Atali in this deck. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Or it was already in the deck, I think.
Yeah, we also cut Crush from this deck. It's just a vanilla creature. We're not interested in a vanilla creature. It's very rare that we want those.
Yeah, he needs to be your commander. Stalking Vengeance. We're not an Aristocrats deck, so we don't have. I mean, we have Viscera Sea or Goblin Bombardment, but aside from that, this is just like 1,000 mana. You don't want to blitz it, and it deals a couple damage every turn.
Yeah, Deathbringer Regent. We don't want to wipe Toolbox off the board ever. We want to leave him on the board. We're not trying to kill him. If we want Toolbox dead, we'll sacrifice him.
Yeah,
we're not
this
gonna kill
is
him
one
this.
of the most overprinted Precon cards ever.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just really bad. We also cut World Shaper. Yikes. World Shaper is just, we're not milling ourselves. We're not putting lands in their graveyard. We don't have enough fetch lands, so get out of here.
It doesn't do it. It's going to be like, if you blitz it, it's mill 3, and if you don't have any lands, it's too bad. Grime Gorger, this is the closest Precon card I've ever seen to just a vanilla creature. Even if it got 4 guaranteed counters, which is not guaranteed in the early game, it's a 7/7 with Menace for 4 that has to attack, and then we sacrifice it if we blitz it? No, never.
Yeah, not very good. We also got rid of First Responders. Okay, I hate this card. It's basically a vanilla as well. I get it. You're supposed to blitz another creature, then play this to return the blitz to your hand. Da-da-da-da-da-da. You're jumping through all the hoops. It's really cool. No, it sucks.
Yeah, we just have a bigger, badder threat to slam after this. And Next of Kin, just a weird card. It's kind of anemic because you're not going to have a huge selection of either your commander or cards in hand. We're not going to deal with it. We're not farting around with Next of Kin.
Yeah, definitely not worth doing. All right, so now what do we put in their places? Well, lots and lots of awesome cards.
Bangers.
This is actually a deck that I brewed up for myself, and I found some really sweet cards. First, we put in Gamekeeper. It's a 2/2 for 4, but when it dies, that's what we're going to do with Blitz.
It's going to.
It's going to die. We reveal from the top of our deck till we hit a creature and put it onto the battlefield. Spoiler alert, we have tons of creatures to put onto the battlefield.
I believe there's 4, maybe 5 creatures in this deck now that are not worth hitting off this, and the other 35 plus are bangers.
You're gonna pay 3 mana, and sometimes, maybe let's say it's 5% of the time it'll whiff, and then the other 19 out of 20 times,
Banger.
Absolute huge bangers like Demogoth Woe Eater. You blitz this thing down, beat him for 7, then at your end step, you sacrifice it, you draw a card, they discard a card, and you gain 2 life just for a little gravy on top there.
And you get another card from Blitz, so it's just like a divination that also takes a card out of their hands and hits somebody for 7.
What an awesomely cool card. I also love this next one.
Oh, yeah.
I have to steal it from you because I also love this one because I found it, so I get to talk about it.
It's like the coolest card in the deck.
It's really cool. It's Champion of Vronus. It's a 2/2 for 4 that when it attacks you can exert to put a creature from your hand into play. That's not very good unless you give it Blitz, and then you can exert it right away and then draw a new card in your hand stuff, and we have tons of huge beaters we want to drop in anyway.
Actually, it's a 3/3, this could be like a 0/1 and we wouldn't care. Junji, the Midnight Sky, we got some things you might consider off budget, we still got them in the deck because everything else is so cheap. Junji is just going to reanimate whatever our best dead thing is. The haste means we can crack it in the air, and then it dies, and we want the dice trigger. It's perfect. Same with at Sushi, the Blazing Sky, so we're going to draw some cards or make some treasure.
Yeah, we have we're going to have big giant things in our graveyards all the time. We're most likely going to be reanimating, but even if we want to be mean with it, Junji can just make them discard. And at Sushi's ramp, card draw, both. Like either one, whichever one you want it to be, it's going to be that for you. Really cool card. Anger. If you get into the really late game, you can get Anger in your graveyard by paying whatever 2-3 mana depending on what he's discounted. Just attack for 2, it gets eaten, whatever. You don't care about that. Throw it in your graveyard.
Recycle it.
Now for the rest of the game, you can just slam your normal threats, and they have haste now. And guess what? They have attacks triggers and dice triggers and ETB, so they're gonna be really good.
And also with the sack outlet ensures that our living death is just, it's not like, oh, I'm going to win. It's like, no, the game's over because you're going to get every single creature in your graveyard back, including Anger, sack outlet, sack the Anger. They all have haste, just to annihilate everyone.
Totally, yeah. Like, wipe them off the face of the planet.
I like that. Wipe them off the face of the earth.
Yes. I also love this next card, too. There's so many cool cards in this deck. It's Kogla, the Titanate. It comes down, fights right away, which is nice. It's a 1-for-1. Then it attacks and destroys an artifact or enchantment defending player controls.
2.
So you get that right away. So it's just you get this 2-for-1, and then you draw a card.
3.
So it's just a nice 3-for-1 right away, and you have to beat him with a 7/6 that might not be able to be blocked.
Right. It's just very good. Also, Sepulchral Primordial. Oh my! This is one we're happy to blitz in because the body replaces itself, and we don't really care. We just get their 3 best dead things on our field forever. They have to deal with them now. Huge threat, huge board presence. You can go from nothing and play this card to being in the lead.
Yeah, this is like a secret Jund ETB deck.
It's like a secret Blink deck.
Secret Blink is a good way to describe it.
Speaking of secrets, I bet you didn't see this secret ad from Moxfield.com coming. It's the best and easiest way to build Magic the Gathering decks on the internet, and it helps us build these Precon power-ups. We're using it for reals. We plug everything in. We can sort by price. We can update so that everything we add is automatically the cheapest version, so we're not farting around wasting time finding the cheapest version of cards, going through all of Magic trying to do this. It's going to give us the most bang for our buck.
Yeah, and if we personally here at the Nitpicking Nerds use the pricing from TCGPLAYER, but if you prefer the pricing from Card Kingdom, you can switch it over. That's just an option on the website. There are many, many different options. This is probably the best website to find primers. If you're a CEDH person, there are CEDH decks galore and primers galore. Learn how to play those decks and get really good at them because Moxfield makes it so easy to write a primer.
It's part of the reason I think those CEDH decks get so many views on Moxfield. It's like you can go figure out how to play the deck and see the deck in the same spot.
Because CEDH decks are incredibly hard and complex to play with extremely diverse lines. Moxfield makes it easy to learn because you read it and somebody tells you exactly all the lines that they know in the deck.
Moxfield is OP. That's all I'm going to say.
Moxfield is OP. It'll make you a better player. Next, for category, we got the bread and butter stuff, the ramp, removal, and the card draw. We had to make some cuts. The first one, I hated this. I didn't know why this was in the deck.
Joe was offended.
It is offensive to me. It is overgrown battlement. We had 2 walls in the whole deck.
See, for me, it was just 2 mana dork. That was the cheapest for their little reprint policy. It's just the same as any 1/1 that taps for mana.
There's a million 2-mana dorks they could have picked.
They like this one. I don't know.
This one was This one was the worst choice in the history of time. We also cut Glittering Stockpile. It's just
no treasure synergies. We don't need to do this. We want creatures.
Exactly. Yeah, we want creatures in our deck. Fellow Stone. We're a green deck. We either want creatures or we want spell-based ramps. We don't want artifact-based ramp in this deck. Same thing with Commander Sphere. 100% the same exact reasoning.
Yeah, and we can't cut Arcane Signet. We kind of left that one in. It's like the outlier just because we only have so many cuts to work with. We're limited to 30, so that's kind of it stayed in, and at least it makes any color. But I would also cut that with more ads. Riveteers Charm. All the charms are bad in Commander, at least as far as I can tell. So we're just not going to play any of them.
Yep. Protection Racket. This is pseudo card draw.
Sin Prodder.
It's going to be decent. It would be decent in this deck. This is as our average mana value is pretty high. But overall, we can just avoid it. It's just not that good.
We can just play a card that we know is going to be good and not some unpredictable, weird thing.
And all of our cards draw anyway.
We're cantripping everything.
Yeah.
Reign of Riches wants you to play treasures and get Cascade. So it's like card advantage. But by itself is bad, and we just can't take advantage of it.
You need a commander that makes treasures, I think. I think once you have a commander that makes treasures, you consistently get the Cascade every single turn. It's a lot better.
We can't do this at all.
Not this deck. So for ramp, really simple. We went with mana dorks. I mean, we want creatures for our deck. It synergizes. So we want Fintorn Elves. You know Fintorn Elves. Everyone knows Fintorn Elves. We made Landwehr Elves, which is the same exact thing as Fintorn Elves, if you didn't know. Elves of Deep Shadow, which is the same exact thing as those other two, except you lose life and make a black instead.
Yeah, they help us cast, as opposed to like Explore that's already in this deck and like Farseek. They help us cast Henzie on turn 2 if we want, sometimes.
Yeah, getting Henzie out on turn 2 is super powerful. It's not going to be often with the other two. Specifically, Elves of Deep Shadow
That's a good one.
Will really give us a good chance of getting that out. We also added in Sakura Tribe Elder. Just play it, sack it, get a land. Simple, easy as pie.
But what about the juice? What about the juicy ads?
I really like this next one. It is Rampant Rejuvenator, 4 mana for a Hydra thing that enters with 2 +1/+1 counters. But when it dies, you get 2 lands onto the battlefield, not even tap. So we can take that. If we have the sack outlet, it's going to be really good with us. We're just going to blitz it for 3 mana, get in for 2. It'll probably just get chunked and die, and then we'll just have 2 lands to use. Or they'll take 2 because they don't want us to get the lands right away, and then we'll just hope we have a sack outlet to use it. Or we'll just get the lands in the turn and be happy with that too.
We get to build some kind of weird ramp spell that's like better than every ramp spell in the format. It's like 2 and a green, go get 2 things untapped, draw a card.
Yeah, which is actually bonkers. We also have Seed Guide Ash. This one dies and gets you 3 forests, and they're not even basic forests. It's 5
mana fix.
5 mana 4/4, but you're just gonna get.
You mean 4 mana?
4 mana? It's going to cost
draw
4
a card.
when we blitz it, and it's going to draw a card. I mean, that's what makes all these cards so good. We're taking these super medium effects that you're like, yeah, even with a sack outlet, that's not that good.
Well, because it's like, I have to pay 5 mana for this, and I have to kill it somehow. It's like, with this, you don't have to do either of those.
What if I paid 4 less mana and drew a card afterwards?
Right.
Okay, I'm in for that for sure. What's next?
We got Foundation Breaker, technically costs 4, so if we want to, we get a bunch of options. We can either just play it for 4, have a creature as a blocker, play it for 3, cantrip to draw a card, or play it for 2 and just evoke it and don't get any blitz value on it. It's just like really sweet that we get 3 choices.
Yeah, super versatile spell. Same is actually true for Shriekmaw. We can do all the same kind of options for it.
All right, 5, 4, or 2 to pay.
Yep, and we're gonna get a 1/1. We're gonna attack with it. This one's probably gonna get through because it has fear. So you're just gonna attack the person without black blockers, and then we're just gonna put in the graveyard, draw a card. Chupacabra, very, very, very similar.
Salt of the Earth, just like good removal, fine.
It's gonna be murder on a creature that draws the card. Is that good?
It'll come back eventually with Living Death, so yeah, it'll be murder again.
Yeah, very, very good. And then some like super bread and buttery stuff that you want to diversify just in case you face something like. I know you're probably not going to face humility, but it's the example that comes to my head.
Some of these psychos, man.
Yeah, actually, humility costs like more than this whole deck.
Yeah.
Nature's Claim, just 1 mana, destroy target instant. You don't destroy an instant. It is an instant, and it destroys artifacts or enchantments.
And Beast Within just destroys any permanent. Total versatility, trading some efficiency for versatility. It's great.
Yeah. Before we get into the land improvements for this deck, we got to shout out our patrons. Thank you all. You guys are so awesome. Your direct support for this channel
unmatched
and keeps us going. It's literally how we can keep making these videos. If you don't know, we're actually cranking these out. I'm wearing the same shirt as yesterday's video.
If you like similar shirt videos, you're going to love this week because we're recording them all basically in the same day and a half span.
We're going to be out of town the whole weekend. So
SCG Pittsburgh.
SCG Pittsburgh. Come see us there. So let's improve these lands now. For the cuts, we cut a forest, we cut a swamp, and we cut 2 mountains. As with all precons, we mention it all the time, there's just too many basics. We can just have less. I personally, if I am building a 3-color deck, I'm aiming off a budget for 6 basics.
I usually go like between 4 and 6. It depends on if I have like a lot of fetches or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
We also cut Jund Panorama. It's a fetch land. It's slow. It helps make your mana base functional in that it fixes your colors. But the second you can upgrade it at all, you probably should. Same with Riveteers Overlook. It's the same thing, but you gain a life, basically.
Yeah, very similar to those two is Ash Barrens. Mm-hmm. You cycle it, so it basically costs 1. It technically comes in untapped. Whatever. It's fixing, but it's not that good at all. We also cut Temple of the False God. We just don't like Temple of the False God.
It's bad.
We're not interested in a card that's going to be dead early game when we can just get an actual good land.
Yeah, and we added a couple MDFCs, actually. I think this is the only precon we got to squeeze them in, but maybe there's another one. Malakir Rebirth is the first one. We're blitzing. All of our creatures are destined to die if we want them to, and we just have to go, hey, remember that extra mana I just saved? Well, I'm going to pay it on Malakir Rebirth get the ETB and dice trigger, attack trigger again, and just feel amazing and draw a card.
So the thing to think about MDFCs is they're not super prevalent. We're not super high on putting them in 3-color decks.
Right.
Some, not many. But if they have high synergies like Malachor Rebirth or Kazul's Fury, where we can fling one of our blitzed creatures, then we're going to put it in the deck. Those are when the MDFCs are going to sneak into 3-color decks when they're actually super synergistic.
Yeah, we also wanted to respect Seed Guide Ash a little bit. It's worse if you're maybe stuck on black, so we added Woodland Chasm. 3 forests, let's say you have a mix of 5 lands. You really want to be able to get not just green sources when you go find 3 forests. So there's red-green forest in here, and then there's now a green-black forest. And we got to add Dragon Skull Summit, which is a couple bucks because we did so good for budget on the rest of the deck.
Yep.
That's going to fix really nice.
And we also added Undergrowth Stadium, just another awesome fixer for the deck.
This is one that's like, even if you start playing Magic with like this upgrade, you're going to have this Undergrowth Stadium, and it's going to be in Commander decks forever, no matter what power level you're at.
All right, final stats here. Budget, $50 as always. Total spent, $48.07. Damn, we're good. Average mana value of this deck was 4.13. I don't even hate that because this deck obviously is always reducing creature costs.
With the amount of ramp it had, though, it had not enough ramp.
Yeah, well, we fixed that problem. The new average mana value is 3.8. Still clunky, but like we said, everything essentially costs, all the creatures cost like 1 less mana. So you can cut this, if you think about it, it actually costs a lot less.
It's basically 2.8.
No, definitely not 2.8.
You just subtract everything by 1.
That's not how anything works.
Not even close.
The total changes for this deck are, you're just making me think about the idea of it's 2.8. That's not true. The total changes were obviously 30. That's what we're doing for Precon power-ups. Nowadays, we've done the Precon power-ups now. This is our 3rd one in a row. This is what, Riveteers Rampage?
Yes, so go check out the previous episode in the streak, which is Maestro Massacre. It's over here.
And if you've already seen Maestro Massacre, just wait for autoplay. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.